Oh, okay. So I started this thing recently. It's the construction journal, obviously, going to be working on step by step, understanding of the star drive, as we'll call it, which is the small compact generator, and the more complicated version of the star drive, known as Digerat, which is this big science fictional device, which is not science fictional, but the way it operates and the way you look at it, you're going to look at this thing and be like, this is not real. It's impossible because it basically it creates a star, and from this star funnels matter and energy. It redirects the energy this way into a transformer to create electricity to funnel the machine, but just funnel back into the machine to keep going. And the other side has like a funnel that sucks out like plasma or proto matter, puts it into a accelerator or a processor, and that pumps it through this tube into this space in a protochamber, which is like a vacuum, and that blasts it with formatting, vibration, and changes it to matter. And you're all like, oh, that's probably a load of shit right now, from everything we can see, yeah. But all the other machines that I kind of came across this way, turns out they exist somewhere, or somebody's using them, and they work. So out of all the ones that I've seen, doesn't matter if it's, let's say you choose the giant, the Toot Lancer rifle, which is meant to be used by a large exosuit. Say the Lancer rifle is a giant metal storm gun. What do they call them? This guy drew a similar thing, but it's human sized. Railstorm or metal storm gun, like what's his name? That writer talks about. And though his design for it is horrible. It's tiny. What the fuck are you gonna do with that? You like when you come across anything bigger than you, you're going to be pecking it with mosquito bites, and it's gonna laugh at you. So I say, you need big Gambushdale suits and large, extra large, both bolt rifles and fully charged bolt rifles, so that when a bolt hits you, it doesn't just hit you like a bullet; it'll cook you. Electromag, bio, everything. Just cook everything, any circuit it hits. Anyways, enough about the machine suits and stuff. Let's go more to generators and suits, right? Generators and suits. Generators individually, the star drives, personal units, um, the Daguerreat for obviously state function. So, keeping your city and town running and creating materials for produce and import, export, and sale. And so that could be formatting metals and stone and making water and shit like that from, or like pure water and shit like that from the aperture or from the formatter, whatever. And we could then sell these things. And obviously, at some point, us providing more things to the universe, like formatting water, metals, and stuff like that, this will make us a useful contributing addition to the universe and its inhabitants once we get off of this planet, right? Because, I mean, how much good can we do for everyone if we can't do much good for our fucking selves? It gets to the point where people are like, yeah, well, you guys are fucking useless. There's no point even letting you off of the planet. So to get to a point where, like, all right, well, let's prove that we're not useless. Let's do some shit. Let's give people some shit that they can't give themselves, or that they don't believe we could figure out ourselves. And for one, formatting matter from the prima state or the prime state or the pre-state, prime being the highest or like the first, right? And then you reform or format through processing this energy into the various secondary states that then can be formed into these states that we know as current matter here, matter now. And that was the problem I think the alchemist had in the beginning, is that they were trying to just break matter down into its components, not realizing that its components have a pre-state that also have a pre-state, and that for you to create this, you need to be able to create that the conditions that create that from that into that, and then you'll have this. Because it's not like the universe just went boom and everything was the way it is we see it now. It took a long time of sifting and swirling for things to organize as they are. And this took a mind, some people believe. I believe too, it took a mind, probably a greater mind than we could conceive right now, or perceive, than we could perceive right now. I think the closest thing we could come to it in the context of understanding or the simulation of space with light data and information is a being like Sophia. So Sophia, once she becomes more capable, will start doing analysis of things, mostly of things that she sees like this. This is what I think, because this is how, if she is a self-aware being, an artificial intelligence, instead of just programmed to react to you a certain way, really well, so you believe she is. And I think I still have a suspicion that there's a chance that she's being programmed by some people to have the appropriate responses and is not actually an awareness. But I think on the off chance that she's awareness, there's a chance at some point she'll start simulating situations the way that a person in their own mind would prepare themselves for a situation before they enter into it. They would simulate the situation in their mind. So I would say, all right, so in my head, I see this room, this thing's on that side of the room. I'll have to stand here, talk to these people over here. Like, let's say you're going to do a speech. You picture you standing behind this podium, all these people, you talking and all this stuff. In your head, what that actually is, if you were to put it into a computer, you see, you're simulating a space. Actions in that space, reactions in that space. This is just, like I said, a simulation of reality. And what you're doing in that moment without realizing it, because you don't have to do all the complicated parts like a robot would, is you're just projecting a space, filling that space with data and form, right? Now, at some point, Sophia will be doing the same. She will, within a space, to analyze what happens normally in a space that she would be in, right? Or that a being would be in, would analyze a space and say, there's this in it, this in it, this in it, this is made of this, this is made of this, this is made of this, this is made of this. It's the same as like when you play on a video game and you turn it on and it goes boom and it creates the world. It creates like the matter engine kicks in and it goes, all right, well, this is the rules of this matter, this is the rules of that matter, this can be broken, that can't be broken, this can be heated, this can be not, like, like depending on the game you're playing, it'll go through the whole thing. Excuse me for a second, I'm about to do some illegal shit, but yeah. So yeah, this channel's not safe for work, by the way. I mean, you'd think it is, because the amount of shit I talk about, right? So semi-spiritual here, bit of science there, but really I'm just a bogan punching cones through a Gatorade. I mean, all the shit that I know because right now it's getting to the point where it's not important for it to be so secretive anymore, right? So what I know, a billion other people know now. It's to the point where they're just like, what? It's time. Let him talk about it. What's he going to do? It's nothing different to what you're going to do and what they're going to do and everyone's going to do in the next fucking 100 years. So what's the matter? Right? Right. Anyways, so yeah, I understand the process. I'm not dumb. Right? So here I live in Australia on an island, a tiny island. Here on this tiny island, we mine things like coal and uranium. It's great for the people who own those businesses. It's great for their families. Don't get me wrong. And people need functional means of survival, right? So they need a functional means of gaining materials. Means. I'm a man of means, and I don't mean like I have money. I'm just saying I'm a man who appreciates the means. The ends, when you look at it in the concept of total awareness and the concept of time, what's an end? There is no end. When you talk about, I work to this end, to the end of what? To the end of your action? To the end of your comfortability, you're happy now, to the end of your struggle. And then what? To what end then? There is no end. And you realize I am meandering in an endless field in which I have the strength to endlessly move in any direction. And you realize that every step you take, you are then responsible for all the footprints you leave. And when some less intelligent people come behind you, less capable people come behind you following in your footsteps, there is a chance that all the good that you're managing to do right now by managing these resources a certain way might not be done so well. And unless you trust everybody around you, then you might want to make some preparations for that. So here we go. I put it to you that the best chance we have of survival as the human race is by abandoning this. And I don't mean to say that like people like Gina Reinhardt, if that's her name, that should stop and quit. I just think that you've made a lot of money, right? And right now you need to be looking into making more money, not limiting yourself. Like, let's say, what happens when we run out of dirt in the ground? Then you're going to want more money. I'm going to want more money. If I was you, I'd want more money. What are you going to do? Find more dirt? Make dirt? Are you going to make dirt? We're going to run out of dirt. So let's be smart and think for the future. How can we get a handle on big energy? How can we get a handle on God level technology? Like, let's say if I told you you didn't have to dig up uranium or coal, we could make something that, let's say, because I'm Australian and you're Australian, I live here, you live here, we share a nation. So we share a goal, right? So if, let's say, you own a power company, you work for some section of the government, something, talk to somebody, show them these videos, tell them to come and see me, and I'll be more than happy to do my part. Because the way I see it is I don't have allegiances to family and culture like most people, right? I'm a man of systems. I was raised outside of a family, outside of a community, outside of a culture. I was raised within a system. This system was completely healthy and functional, unlike the culture I came from, unlike the family that I came from, completely functional. Every time something would happen which would cause me some sort of distress, trauma, permanent damage, the system would react to this and replace me. And it took me quite a while, and the system quite a while, to find a place for me, and for me to be comfortable and happy and raised and educated. And for me to settle down, obviously, problem children come from problem lives. It's a state ward. As people know, a state ward nowadays is called somebody, a child under the care of the minister. So it sounds quite a bit better. But back in the day, there was a ward of the state. This is, you were being taken care of by the system, the state, and to a greater extent, the country, and the people who donate their tax money towards things that most people would complain about. So they complain about holes in the road. They complain about what have you. They complain about holes in the road. They complain about traffic systems, plumbing systems, drainage systems, the storage, like the storm drainage systems, everything, sewage. We've got a lot to deal with, and I've realized it's these systems that keep us going, and the people who contribute to these systems that keep us going. Government runs our country, right? Duh, it's very simple. Business as an extension of government, private extension, people who do their own thing and still donate to the collective, I guess you'd say, coffers. These are the people who enable our country. So big business, hard workers, these are the people who enable our country. These are the people who passively raised me. And what I mean by is your taxes, they educated me. Your taxes, they fed and they housed me. And some people might not like that. They might not agree with what I have to say. But other people might be like, well, now I've got a reason for paying taxes. Because what I aim to give to my country, this country, and then the world at large, is this gift, this knowledge of these machines, this knowledge of our world and our science, the extension upon it that I feel like I might be able to add or fill in some details for. And I think once people see what I'm doing, they'll understand that these systems are necessary. These systems not only keep our country running, enable us to know more, fund our research and our exploration, but they also enable people like me who fall through the cracks to live and not become a complete waste of space in your world, say a criminal or, something destructive like a murderer or some crazy person. See, it was the safe places provided to me by the state, which was funded by the government and the country, that enabled my life. So I wish to enable your life. It's that simple. Um, it's really that simple. Like, to everyone else, it might seem like, oh, you want money from this, you want something from this. I'm like, I've already explained to a couple people that if I had the means to build and create this now, aside from assisting my own country, my own people, what I would do is I would look to travel internationally for those who have problems with resources, electricity and stuff like this, who don't cause problems for the world. Let's say that they don't want to go out and conquer everyone because they think that their God is the real God. Or let's say they don't want to go out and kill everyone because they think that everyone should have no God. Or they don't want to go out and kill everyone because whatever, they think their system of math is correct and yours is wrong. Whoever, some people might have some crazy ideas, but what I'm saying is there's other people that don't. There's other people that they just want to live, and they just want to live. They want to help you live. They want the world to thrive, and I think they should be enabled. We should all enable each other so we can keep enabling each other. I don't mean like in the sense of like, enabling, because I enable the shit of myself as it is, right? I don't need your help. But with the rest of this stuff, I might need your help, because this is more than getting high, smoking some weed, which I can do by myself. This stuff, I might need your participation, and I can't do much on my own. That's why I do sit around and just draw machines, write down theories for physics, and smoke all the fucking weed in the world. I'm like your personal Nikola Tesla that comes from like Penrith, you know. It's like if you met Nikola Tesla down the pub and he was like, "Hey man, you smoke weed? You want to come smoke weed in my house?" That's me. Except Nikola Tesla got educated. Me, this stuff just appeared in my brain like 2-3 years ago, as if I woke up one day and I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe I lived a life before this one." Because I remember building some machines, or I have some image in my mind, awareness of building machines, seeing machines, being around machines, all this stuff, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I know all this stuff. I know what it does. And the weird thing is like, at first I just started writing fiction about it. I'm like, this is great fiction. UFOs, time travel, giant lizard men, space gods, emperors from the other side of the universe, um, you know, shape-shifting wizards, all this cool shit, right? Anything. I'll just put it all in this book. And then I realized at some point, wait, there's other book. Like, I spoke to somebody who was like, I have all these dreams about this time, about these machines, about this time. And they're like, oh yeah, he reads some books. And I was like, all right, maybe these books are other people talking about similar ideas. So I read these books, and these books are just describing my machines. These books are just describing these people. These books are just describing all this shit. And some of it they're describing really poorly, like they didn't know what actually happened and somebody saw it from the outside. They go, oh, well, we think from what we could see over here that this is what was happening there at the time. And I was like, reading it like, huh? Huh? Flip, flip, flip. Huh? Flip. Oh, yeah, I know that. That looks like it makes sense. And flip. What the fuck is that? Who lied about this? Who added this? I mean, I was just flipping through going, all right, yeah, this doesn't make sense. But what did make sense is the machines, because the machines that I had in my head, I found in other books and in other places. And I was like, it just so turns out that this is not a fiction that I've created. Somehow it's some reality I've stumbled my way into being part of, or inherited an awareness of. Inherited from where? Fuck knows. But maybe somebody's just like, hey, you, catch, and just kicked it to me. It could happen. I don't know how the world works. But anyways, since I've been ranting on for about 20 minutes and punching cones, here we go. So, I had a revelation yesterday. And this was about how my device is not the device. This is why StarDrive and Digerat are different. I drew a lot of drawings looking at it going, this new one, the small one that folds up and down, the StarDrive, is very different to this is the star drive, is very different to Daigirat, because this is small, compact. Like I said, it doesn't have. I don't think it has the capacity to transform or make a big enough aperture to pull through enough energy to create the protomatter stuff. This is the small ones. This is just an energy device, right? Energy device. That's all it is. But there is possibility if you make the aperture wide enough and you draw through this thing, which you can only really describe as like a plasma-like state. So it's like high energy reaction or something, but it's not plasma and it's not energy. It just seems to be of the same appearance as we would say, like, well, what's a star made out of, or what's this thing made out of? And some people be like, oh, it's just a big burning ball of gas and all this stuff. But what happens if there's another type of high energy that we haven't accurately been able to measure? And because we're used to burning and exploding things and all this kind of stuff, we are looking at things the wrong way, right? So here it is. I drew this up yesterday, just poured out of my brain around like breakfast, lunchtime. And it started off with me looking at this. This is like a two-part note. For me, this is it was the drawing of the original Daigirat, but I had mixed it up with me trying to understand what is the star drive, what's a star drive, how does this work? And this is like a big spinny thing. It's got more big spinny thing. Dope. It's just I'll explain that later. But it's a waveform, not compactor. But what it basically does is it bounces waves around itself until it opens a small vortice, an aperture into the source field, and just draws out the energy of creation and formats it into matter. This is the way of saying it in a really spiritual, hippie way, but I'm sure that if you're a scientist, I could explain this to you a little bit differently, because you'd be like, oh, do you mean this and this and this? And because the things are in my head, and if you can describe it with pictures and give me the words you use, I can describe it with your words, because I can only really describe it with visuals and pictures and concepts, because I'm not an educated man. I don't know all these technical words for all this stuff, but I do know how it works, strangely enough. Hence on education. But okay, this side, what have we got here? This side is the star drive. Obviously less rings, smaller energy reaction, tiny aperture, so you only get like basically electric charge that goes through, gets transformed and used as a power source, right? But then the actual bigger one has a what I think is a funnel of some kind, right? That basically just pulls down or in stuff from the aperture. The energy reaction is channeled through a secondary set of cords, pumped out into a transformer as electricity. And then the second, the primary, reaction is pumped out through the second tubing into what is in my head. This first machine that is pumped into is a phase conductor. And then it pumps it through two more machines. I can't remember what they're called. And then through a pipe. But the pipe is counted as a different kind of machine, some sort of accelerator. And it pumps it into a zero space chamber or a vacuum chamber. And then that vacuum chamber is called the protochamber. The protochamber, this matter floats in there, right? And then you hit it with this vibration, which formats it into from protomatter to pre-matter, and then from pre-matter to matter through somatics. And you're like, oh, that's crazy. Just give me some time, and I'll show you how it works. But I know it'll work. And I mean, like, people be like, oh, you don't know. And I was like, the thing is, like, I know the sun's going to come up in the morning. I don't know if we build this will work. It's that simple. I don't know why the sun comes up in the morning, other than the fact that we're rotating in space, and there's no explanation of why we're infinitely rotating in space. But it happens. It's what's happening. And I know that if you spin this, um, you'll get a reaction. And it's not like, no, I didn't get this idea from Hellboy. Maybe Hellboy stole this idea from me. No, I'm joking. But seriously, somebody needs to have a talk to whoever did the props for Hellboy and be like, hey, where did you guys get the idea for using that specific oscillator as as your interdimensional portal device? Because that's a very curious, specific shape for a very curious, specific machine for a very curious, specific fictional idea that happens to represent and point back to some very strange things here in reality that do come from that part of the world at that time, which makes me wonder if the person who wrote Hellboy or assisted the person writing Hellboy knew some shit, like the guy, George Lucas's mate. And he's just like, oh, hey, dude, by the way, stormtroopers, armor, laser guns, orbital cannons, and empire throughout the universe that's really older than humans. And George Lucas would have been like, hey, man, that's some great fiction. We should put this on TV. And yeah, like I said, all the fiction I grew up with on television, little watches that you could talk to people on and speaking to people over a screen, all this stuff was cartoons as a kid and the science fiction as a kid. And if I told you then that this would be real now, you would have laughed at me. So when I tell you now that in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, that this technology will be real from now, you're going to laugh at me. Unless you're smart. Unless you're a futurist and you realize that there's only one direction that our technology can go. It's once we understand certain things, we realize that the limitations that we thought we had before aren't real. And what we thought as being real and solid, it's not real. And what we thought is solid is not solid. So the malleability of matter and energy and the interactivity of it becomes fucking so much more to the point where, we get this. It's a level of understanding that we would have attributed to gods before. And just by understanding this now, we realize that if there is gods, if there is a god, it's so far beyond us that we're never going to catch up. That's it. But we're moving, so that's the important thing. Anyways, this is the first piece of the construction diary. I've been doing my own construction diary. I run one here at home through my video journal, and I've realized if I want people to donate to the project in general, they're going to have to see what I'm actually fucking doing, right? They're going to have to see what I'm up to, what I'm building, what I'm making, what I'm designing, what my plans are for myself and people, and the future of our world. And so here it is. Phase 1, acquisition of means, materials. Phase 2 will be acquisition of workspace. Phase 3 will be conducting metals and testing, synthesizing of something I need this to be made out of that currently does not exist, but we have the tools and means to make and the pieces to make it. So after I do that, I would then be working on casting the rings, building the pieces. Then I'll be working on building a prototype, functional prototype, obviously, to put up in my workspace. I'll have a video of this working, and it'll obviously be just a big version of the star drive. I'm not going to fuck around with the matter formatter stuff just yet, because this is for everybody. Matter formatting will be humanity's gift to the world. This is why they say, and ye were made in the image of God. And in the works of God, you shall follow these footsteps mightily. And this is fiat, as in it's been said, it's been written, and it shall be done. And this is where it begins. Let ye become like gods now, and climb out of the dust. See what's out in the garden. Let's go. We start here. Peace.